23:45 hours, October 15, 1942. Imperial Japanese Navy destroyer Amagiri charging south through the slot, New Georgia Sound. Commander Kohei Hanami stands on the bridge as his Fubuki-class destroyer carries 240 troops and 60 steel drums of supplies for Guadalcanal, part of the nightly Tokyo Express runs that have become the lifeline for Japanese forces defending Henderson Field. Radio static crackles from Coastwatcher Jack Reed on Bougainville reporting ship movements to Allied intelligence. While 600 miles southeast, matte black PBY-5A Catalinas of VP-12 prepare to launch from Espiritu Santo with Mark 13 torpedoes and 500-pound bombs. The stakes are absolute. America's coordinated intelligence strike system threatens to sever Japan's only remaining supply route to its embattled Solomon Islands garrisons. Commander Hanami adjusts his night vision goggles as Amagiri maintains 30-knot speed through the narrow channel between Choiseul and Santa Isabel Islands, her Campon boilers straining to deliver maximum power while maintaining stealth profile against Allied radar detection. The destroyer carries Type 93 long lance torpedoes with 1,080-pound warheads and operates under strict radio silence to avoid interception by the Australian Coastwatcher organization that has been systematically tracking Japanese naval movements since August 1942. Tonight marks the 15th consecutive Tokyo Express run, each mission growing more dangerous as American intelligence capabilities improve and PBY Black Cat squadrons perfect their nocturnal attack techniques. The Coastwatcher network established by Lieutenant Commander Eric Felt spans 47 strategic observation posts throughout the Solomon Islands chain, staffed by former plantation managers, district officers, and local scouts who maintain continuous radio contact using lightweight teleradios operating on 4,240 kilocycles frequency. Jack Reed and Paul Mason on Bougainville Island have reported Japanese fleet movements with 98% accuracy over the past 6 weeks, providing Allied forces on Guadalcanal with 24 hours advance warning of incoming air raids and naval bombardments. Their intelligence reports include precise ship counts, vessel types, estimated speeds, and projected arrival times that enable coordinated interception by surface units and aircraft. American PBY-5A Catalinas have been modified for nocturnal attack missions with matte black paint schemes that reduce visibility to near zero at altitudes below 200 feet. While upgraded radar altimeters allow sea-skimming approaches at 20-foot altitude during complete darkness. The Black Cat squadrons VP-11, VP-12, VP-51, and VP-91 operate from forward bases at Espiritu Santo, Tulagi, and Florida Island, armed with Mark 13 torpedoes, 500-pound general-purpose bombs, and 50-caliber machine guns for strafing attacks against supply barges and small craft. Each Catalina carries sufficient fuel for 14-hour missions with combat radius extending 600 miles from base, allowing deep penetration raids into Japanese-controlled waters. Hanami checks his chronometer as Amagiri passes through Vela Gulf, noting the precise timing required to reach Guadalcanal's Cape Esperance by 020 hours and complete supply drop operations before dawn exposes the destroyer to Allied air attack from Henderson Field. The Tokyo Express system relies on mathematical precision. Destroyers must maintain 2832 knot average speed to cover the 320-mile route from Shortland Island to Guadalcanal within the 8-hour darkness window, allowing time for supply operations and return passage before daylight brings certain destruction from F-4F Wildcats and SBD Dauntless dive bombers. Radio intercepts from Australian Signals Intelligence Station at Townsville have decoded Japanese naval communications revealing tonight's express composition: 3 destroyers carrying 720 troops, 180 supply drums, and artillery ammunition for the 17th Army's renewed offensive against Henderson Field perimeter. American codebreakers working with JN-25 Naval Cipher have provided precise departure times, routes, and destinations that enable coordinated ambush operations by surface units and aircraft. The intelligence picture includes real-time updates from coastwatchers tracking the formation's progress through predetermined checkpoints along the Solomon chain. Lieutenant Nathan Gordon pilots PBY-5A Black Cat from VP-34 Squadron, his consolidated flying boat armed with a single Mark 13 torpedo under the port wing and 2 500-pound bombs under the starboard wing for tonight's interception mission. The aircraft's Pratt & Whitney R-18-3092 twin Wasp engines generate 2,400 total horsepower, enabling maximum speed of 179 miles per hour and service ceiling of 15,800 feet, while the Parasol wing design provides exceptional stability for low-level torpedo attacks in rough weather conditions. Gordon's crew includes co-pilot, navigator, flight engineer, radio operator, and 2 waist gunners armed with 30 caliber machine guns for defense against Japanese fighters. The PBY's radar altimeter provides precise altitude control during sea skimming approaches, while the aircraft's inherent stability allows accurate torpedo drops at speeds as low as 110 miles per hour from altitudes between 5,100 feet above water. The Mark 13 torpedo carries a 600-pound Torpex warhead with magnetic and contact detonators, effective against destroyer-class targets at ranges up to 6,000 yards when launched properly. Combat experience has proven that PBY torpedo attacks achieve 35–40% hit probability against fast-moving targets when executed with proper approach angles and release parameters. Commander Hanami orders flank speed as Amagiri enters Ferguson Passage, the destroyer's lookout scanning for PT boat signatures that have been increasingly active in recent weeks following the arrival of Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 at Tulagi. The Japanese formation maintains strict light discipline with all external illumination secured and bridge personnel using red-filtered flashlights to preserve night vision. Ship-to-ship communication relies on shielded signal lamps operating at minimum intensity to avoid detection by Allied radar pickets and Coastwatcher observation posts that have been tracking their movement since departure from Shortland Island. Coastwatcher intelligence reports indicate that Japanese supply operations have achieved only 30% effectiveness over the past month, with remainder of supplies lost to Allied interdiction, weather damage, or failure of recovery operations by shore parties. Each Tokyo Express destroyer can carry maximum 200 troops or equivalent weight in supplies using hastily improvised transport configurations that reduce combat effectiveness and seaworthiness. Supply drums are simply pushed overboard near designated beaches, relying on tides and currents to wash them ashore where Japanese recovery teams attempt collection under constant harassment by Allied forces. Gordon's PBY approaches the target area at 200-foot altitude, using dead reckoning navigation based on Coastwatcher position reports transmitted 90 minutes earlier by Jack Red from his observation post on Mount Balby. The flying boat's crew maintains radio silence while approaching Japanese shipping lanes, relying on visual contact for target acquisition in the limited visibility conditions created by partial cloud cover and quarter moon. Radar contact appears on the primitive ASV Mark II surface search radar at 8-mile range, showing 3 distinct targets proceeding southeast at high speed through Ferguson Passage. The effectiveness of America's coordinated intelligence strike system becomes evident as multiple attack vectors converge simultaneously on the Japanese formation. PT boats from Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 have taken position near Vella La Vella based on Coastwatcher intelligence, while additional PBY Black Cats from VP-11 approach from different bearings to execute coordinated torpedo attacks against the destroyer column. This represents the evolution of Allied tactics from individual unit operations to integrated combined arms engagements that maximize the probability of successful interception while minimizing losses to defensive fire. Hanami orders his gunners to battle stations as radar contacts appear on the Type 21 air search radar, indicating multiple aircraft approaching from the southeast bearing. Amagiri's anti-aircraft armament includes 6 25mm Type 96 guns with 220-round magazines, plus multiple 132mm machine guns positioned for all-around defense against low-flying attackers. The destroyer's crew has been trained in anti-aircraft procedures specifically designed to counter PBY torpedo attacks, emphasizing rapid target acquisition and concentrated fire patterns that force attacking aircraft to deviate from optimal attack courses. Gordon descends to 50-foot altitude for his torpedo run, the PBY's hull nearly touching the wave crests as he approaches Amagiri's starboard quarter at 120-degree angle to minimize exposure time to defensive fire. The Mark 13 torpedo requires precise launch parameters: altitude below 100 feet, speed between 110,000 and 130 miles per hour, and range between 800–1200 yards for maximum effectiveness against fast-moving targets. Combat experience has shown that attacks from the target's stern quarter provide optimal hit probability while reducing the defender's ability to bring maximum firepower to bear on the attacking aircraft. Japanese defensive fire erupts across the formation as multiple 25mm guns open fire with high explosive and incendiary ammunition designed to destroy aircraft at short range. The Type 96 guns fire at 250 rounds per minute with effective range against low-flying targets of 1,500 meters, creating interlocking fields of fire that force attacking aircraft to fly through concentrated defensive patterns. Tracer ammunition creates brilliant streaks across the night sky, temporarily destroying the night vision of both attackers and defenders while providing aiming references for subsequent gun crews. The PBY releases its torpedo at 900-yard range before pulling into a climbing turn to avoid collision with the destroyer's superstructure. 30 caliber machine gun fire from Japanese positions raking the flying boat's port wing and puncturing fuel tanks in the aircraft's hull. Gordon's waist gunners return fire with 50 caliber ammunition as the aircraft climbs away from the target area, their tracer rounds marking the destroyer's bridge and forward gun mounts. The torpedo enters the water with proper attitude and begins its run toward Amagiri at 46 knot speed, its magnetic influence pistol-armed and ready to detonate against the destroyer's steel hull. The Mark 13 torpedo strikes Amagiri forward of the bridge structure, its 600-pound warhead detonating against the destroyer's port side below the waterline and opening a massive breach that allows thousands of tons of seawater to flood the forward compartments. The explosion kills 23 crew members instantly while starting uncontrollable fires in the ammunition storage areas that threaten to detonate the ship's entire ordnance supply. Commander Hanami orders abandon ship as structural damage compromises the destroyer's watertight integrity and progressive flooding makes survival impossible. Additional PBY attacks target the remaining destroyers in the formation, with VP-11 aircraft launching torpedo and bomb attacks from multiple bearings that overwhelm defensive fire control systems designed for single-axis threats. The coordinated nature of the assault reflects months of tactical development that integrates Coastwatcher intelligence, signal intercepts, and attack aircraft coordination into a comprehensive system for hunting Japanese supply operations. Each component reinforces the other's intelligence, provides targeting data, communications enable coordination, and multiple attack platforms ensure mission success despite individual aircraft losses. The systematic destruction of Tokyo Express operations demonstrates the decisive advantage provided by America's integrated intelligence strike capability in the Solomon Islands campaign. Coastwatcher reports enable precise timing of interception missions, while Black Cat modifications provide the technical capability to execute effective night attacks against fast-moving targets. The combination creates a hunting system that can track, target, and destroy Japanese supply operations with increasing effectiveness as tactical procedures are refined through combat experience. Japanese naval losses from coordinated PBY Coastwatcher operations reach critical levels by November 1942, with destroyer availability for Tokyo Express missions reduced to 60% of original strength due to combat damage and crew casualties. Each successful interception removes approximately 200 troops and critical supplies from the Japanese force structure on Guadalcanal, while simultaneously degrading the Imperial Navy's capability to conduct future supply operations. The mathematical relationship between losses and replacement capacity favors American forces by margins that make continued Japanese resistance unsustainable. Commander Hanami and 87 crew members are rescued by the remaining destroyers in the formation, but the loss of Amagiri and her cargo represents a significant degradation of Japanese capability to support ground operations on Guadalcanal. The supplies intended for the 17th Army's offensive will not reach their destination, forcing Japanese commanders to postpone planned attacks against Henderson Field perimeter while seeking alternative resupply methods that prove increasingly ineffective against Allied interdiction capabilities. The intelligence cycle that enables successful interception begins with Coastwatcher observation posts reporting Japanese fleet movements from Rabaul and Shortland Island, continues through radio transmission to Allied headquarters in Australia and the Solomon Islands, and concludes with coordinated attack missions by multiple aircraft and surface units. This process typically requires 4-6 hours from initial sighting to weapons delivery, providing sufficient time for tactical coordination while maintaining operational security necessary to prevent Japanese countermeasures. Coastwatcher Jack Reed continues monitoring Japanese radio traffic from his concealed position on Bougainville, noting increased communication activity that suggests planning for retaliatory strikes against Allied bases and Coastwatcher stations. The Japanese response to successful interception operations typically includes air raids against Henderson Field, PT boat bases, and suspected Coastwatcher locations, but these attacks seldom achieve significant damage due to advance warning provided by the same intelligence network that enables offensive operations. The technical evolution of PBY Black Cat capabilities includes installation of improved radar altimeters that enable precise altitude control during night attacks, upgraded communication equipment for coordination with surface units and other aircraft, and enhanced defensive armament including 50-caliber machine guns and 20mm cannon for protection against Japanese fighters. These modifications transform the originally defensive patrol aircraft into effective offensive weapons platforms capable of operating independently in contested airspace. Allied intelligence estimates indicate that Japanese supply operations achieve only 25% effectiveness by December 1942, with remainder of supplies lost to interception, weather damage, or operational casualties that prevent successful delivery to intended recipients. This degradation of logistics capability directly impacts Japanese ground operations on Guadalcanal, forcing reduction in offensive activities and eventual withdrawal of major combat units to more defensible positions. The psychological impact of systematic hunting operations extends beyond immediate tactical effects, creating conditions of constant stress among Japanese naval personnel, who must execute increasingly dangerous supply missions with reduced prospects for survival. Commander Hanami's experience represents typical circumstances faced by Tokyo Express crews: precise timing requirements, limited defensive capabilities, and coordinated enemy attacks that exploit superior intelligence and tactical coordination to achieve overwhelming local superiority. PBY Black Cat squadrons achieve remarkable success rates during Solomon Islands operations, with VP-11 and VP-12 credited with sinking or damaging more than 150,000 tons of Japanese shipping between September 1942 and February 1943. These achievements result from combination of technical capabilities, tactical innovation, and intelligence support that creates synergistic effects exceeding the sum of individual components. Each successful mission provides experience that improves subsequent operations while degrading Japanese defensive capabilities. The integration of Coastwatcher intelligence with Black Cat strike operations represents a revolution in Pacific warfare that establishes patterns of coordination later applied to other theaters and campaigns. The systematic approach to intelligence collection, analysis, and application demonstrates American capability to develop and implement complex operational systems that achieve decisive tactical advantages through technological and organizational superiority, rather than simple numerical preponderance. Japanese attempts to counter Allied hunting operations include increased fighter patrols along supply routes, development of alternative transportation methods using submarines and small craft, and direct attacks against Coastwatcher positions and Allied airfields. These countermeasures prove largely ineffective due to the distributed nature of the Coastwatcher network and the mobility of PBY operations that can shift between multiple bases depending on tactical requirements. The cumulative effect of successful interception operations forces Japanese strategic reconsideration of the entire Solomon Islands campaign, with Tokyo Express missions becoming increasingly episodic rather than routine as destroyer losses exceed replacement capabilities. By January 1943, Japanese naval commanders acknowledged that continued supply operations cannot sustain forces on Guadalcanal against the systematic interdiction achieved by American intelligence strike coordination. Lieutenant Gordon's PBY returns to base at Espiritu Santo with moderate battle damage, 2 crew members wounded by defensive fire, and confirmation of successful torpedo attack against the leading destroyer in the Japanese formation. Post-mission analysis reveals the effectiveness of coordinated timing that places multiple attack aircraft over the target simultaneously, overwhelming defensive capabilities while maximizing hit probability through diverse approach bearings and attack profiles. The intelligence value of successful interception extends beyond immediate tactical effects, providing information about Japanese operational procedures, defensive capabilities, and strategic intentions that inform future Allied planning. Each engagement generates intelligence reports that contribute to comprehensive understanding of Japanese naval capabilities, while identifying vulnerabilities that can be exploited in subsequent operations. American technical advantages in radar, communications, and navigation equipment prove decisive in night operations where visual contact is limited and precise positioning is critical for successful attacks. PBY crews develop specialized techniques for night formation flying, low-level navigation, and coordinated attacks that maximize the effectiveness of available equipment while minimizing exposure to defensive fire. These tactical innovations result from extensive training programs and combat experience that create competencies unavailable to Japanese forces operating under resource constraints. The The Coastwatcher network's effectiveness stems from detailed pre-war planning that positioned observation posts at strategic locations throughout the Solomon Islands chain, equipped personnel with appropriate communication equipment, and established procedures for intelligence collection and reporting that remain effective under combat conditions. This preparation enables immediate activation of comprehensive surveillance capabilities following the outbreak of hostilities, rather than requiring development of new systems under wartime pressure. Japanese intelligence attempts to locate and eliminate Coastwatcher positions prove largely unsuccessful due to the extensive area involved, local population support for Allied personnel, and effective camouflage and security procedures that conceal observation posts from aerial reconnaissance and ground search operations. The distributed nature of the network ensures continued operation despite occasional losses of individual posts to enemy action or communication failures. The mathematical precision required for Tokyo Express operations creates vulnerabilities that can be exploited through accurate intelligence about timing, routes, and destinations. Japanese destroyers must maintain specific speeds and follow predetermined courses to reach target areas within the darkness window, making them predictable targets for coordinated interception when their movements are accurately tracked from departure to arrival. Allied tactical coordination achieves effectiveness levels that exceed Japanese capabilities to develop adequate countermeasures, particularly in night operations where superior radar and communication equipment provide decisive advantages. The integration of Coastwatcher intelligence with PBY strike capabilities creates a hunting system that can locate, track, and destroy Japanese supply operations with increasing efficiency as tactical procedures are refined through combat experience. The supply crisis created by successful interdiction operations forces Japanese ground commanders to reduce offensive activities and implement strict rationing procedures that limit the effectiveness of remaining combat units. By February 1943, the combination of supply shortages and combat losses makes continued resistance on Guadalcanal tactically impossible, leading to the decision to evacuate remaining forces using the same destroyer operations that had previously attempted resupply. Commander Hanami's survival following the destruction of his destroyer represents one of hundreds of similar experiences among Japanese naval personnel, who witnessed the systematic dismantling of their supply operations by American intelligence strike coordination. These experiences create lasting impressions about American technical capabilities and tactical effectiveness that influence Japanese strategic planning throughout the remainder of the Pacific War. The evolution of Black Cat operations from defensive patrol missions to offensive strike capabilities illustrates American adaptability in developing new tactical applications for existing equipment when operational requirements change. PBY modifications for night attack reflect innovative approaches to capability development that achieve significant results through creative application of available resources rather than completely new equipment development programs. Coastwatcher contributions to Allied victory in the Solomon Islands extend beyond immediate intelligence value to include rescue operations, local area security, and coordination with indigenous personnel that provide comprehensive support for Allied operations throughout the theater. The network's effectiveness demonstrates the value of long-term strategic planning that positions intelligence assets in advance of hostilities rather than attempting to develop capabilities after conflict begins. The systematic hunting of Japanese supply operations in the Solomon Islands establishes tactical and operational precedents later applied to other Pacific theater campaigns, including the use of coordinated intelligence strike operations against Japanese shipping lanes, airfield operations, and troop concentrations. These methods prove adaptable to different geographic and tactical circumstances while maintaining effectiveness against Japanese operational procedures. Japanese naval losses from PBY Black Cat operations total 47 destroyers and destroyer escorts, plus numerous smaller vessels, between August 1942 and March 1943, representing approximately 35% of the combined fleet's destroyer strength and creating critical shortages in escort capabilities that affect operations throughout the Pacific theater. These losses result directly from the systematic application of American intelligence and strike capabilities that hunt Japanese naval operations with methodical precision. The technical superiority demonstrated by coordinated Coastwatcher PBY operations influences Japanese tactical development throughout the remainder of the war, forcing adoption of defensive procedures and equipment modifications designed to counter American night attack capabilities. However, these countermeasures prove insufficient to offset the fundamental advantages provided by superior radar, communications, and intelligence systems that enable systematic hunting of Japanese forces. The legacy of Black Cat operations extends beyond immediate tactical success to include institutional learning about intelligence strike coordination that influences post-war development of American air-sea operations doctrine. The systematic approach to target acquisition, coordination, and attack execution developed during Solomon Islands operations provides templates for future conflicts while demonstrating the decisive impact of properly integrated military capabilities. Allied victory in the Solomon Islands campaign results directly from the systematic application of hunting operations that deny Japanese forces the supply support necessary for effective resistance. The coordination of Coastwatcher intelligence with PBY strike capabilities creates conditions of tactical and operational dominance that force Japanese strategic withdrawal from positions that become untenable due to logistical failure rather than direct military defeat. The hunting system perfected during Solomon Islands operations demonstrates American capability to develop and implement complex operational concepts that achieve decisive effects through integration of diverse technical and human capabilities. The success of Coastwatcher PBY coordination provides proof of concept for joint operations that combine intelligence, communication, and strike capabilities into unified systems that exceed the effectiveness of individual components operating independently. Commander Hanami's rescue and subsequent assignment to staff duties in Japan provides him with comprehensive understanding of American tactical capabilities that influences Japanese naval planning for the remainder of the Pacific War. His experience represents thousands of similar encounters that demonstrate to Japanese military leaders the futility of conducting supply operations against systematically coordinated American hunting systems that can track, target, and destroy Japanese forces with mathematical precision.